Hi, I'm Ruben, CEO of the AWON Group. Today we're going to continue with our AI packaging experiment, the ultimate AI packaging experiment, turning your dog into a brand. And we're going to talk about a number of different components of the project. We're going to talk about the erosion of the traditional business model. We're going to, and the fact that we're doing this at all. Larry and I and a very small team of experienced people using technology to launch a product, to create a new product. The fact that that's happening at all is a testament to how far the technology's come and empowering people with experience to make things happen. I was telling Larry, this reminds me of exactly what I've been through my career, bringing young people up and training them and showing them what to do at the same time as I break new barriers and try and develop new products. And AI is simply just, much, much faster at coming back with things. It's wrong a lot more than most of my assistants and employees and associates have been. However, it works a lot harder. It's much quicker. It doesn't, have feelings that get upset. It doesn't matter when I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I want to work. Frankly, I appreciate that. And so, we're going to talk a little bit about what the impact that's had on us. We're going to talk about communication to customers and how we're going to do that, how we're going to communicate about the product and use social media and use TikTok and use Instagram as the new marketing vehicles. We are a public company, so we're also going to talk about how we communicate our progress to the public space in a way that's legal, that doesn't make any representations that are not true, but that keeps people interested. We're not looking for anybody's pensions. This isn't what this is about. The environment allows you to make a small investment from your cell phone now, not through a stockbroker with lots of contracts. And so we just want to say, hey, if you want to invest in an AI company that's doing some cool stuff and is going to come out with some products, take a flyer on us or don't, right? But no one's asking for your pension. No one's asking for millions of dollars. $50 on Robinhood on your phone. Hey, this is the environment that we're in. We're very excited about it. I've sold a couple of companies in my life, always to, one individual who makes a decision, a lot of due diligence, lawyers, contracts, representations, guarantee, any number of things. This is a different experiment. We're public. We trade under the symbol AWON. And what we're going to do is produce our product and invite people to buy some of our shares. You don't have to meet us to do it, although we'd like to welcome you and meet you. I'd like to meet every one of you. However, you don't have to do that. You can just say, hey, I like what these guys are doing. It looks like that guy's got some neat ideas and, I'll see what happens. That's all the representations we make. I'm new at running a public company. I don't have that kind of experience, but I do see the marketing of a security very similar to the marketing of a product. The product simply is us. And as long as we have a high level of integrity and honesty, and we always do things above board and be extremely forthright about our purpose, I don't think we're going to have any issue. You'll find that I'm typically going to talk about things that we're doing or have already done. These videos lag a little bit. So, typically when I'm talking to you, it's something that's already happened. And that's important in a public market. I don't want to be talking about things that we may or may not be doing in the future. So that's very important. We're also going to talk in this episode about AR integration in packaging. That's something that's very, very near and dear to my heart. I know that AR is new, right? And most people have not had an augmented reality experience, much less with a piece of packaging. So there's an education, there's an experience to be built. And again, can we get packaging to do more than simply be something that protects the product inside? Of course, it's a digital era, and that's really what we're into. So we're going to talk about our organization, how AI bots fit into the organization. I'm going to draw out an org chart in which most of the organization is made up of agents and bots being trained. Well, obviously we have manufacturing. We have a facility in Colombia that manufactures the packaging. We make these treats in Mexico. We fulfill in the United States, and we ship nationwide. So we do have an infrastructure, but it's not a deep infrastructure, and it's an infrastructure that's very much tailored to what we're doing. So I want to thank you for joining us on this journey. I hope you are interested in the content that we're creating. We are very much opening our books and our hearts to you and saying, hey, here's how a couple of entrepreneurs undertake the hard business of launching a product and getting it out into the marketplace with today's tools. I'm confident that we're going to learn a lot, you're going to learn a lot, and hopefully it inspires you to do your own thing, to reach out on your own, to strike out on your own with your own products, to figure out if you build a small community of supporters and people who are willing to look at your products. You don't have to climb the corporate ladder to be a happy individual. I think that corporate ladder is There's a bunch of them and they're really short and they don't go anywhere. So don't waste your time. I hope you enjoy the video and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Hey, Larry. So anyway, talking a little bit about how we're AI and its advent, and thinking a lot about it. It's pretty much everything I think about because I'm so immersed in it. But how is this erosion going to happen? How is this change going to happen? How is it? I don't think it's mass layoffs. I don't think it's the knock at the door and the guy replacing me. I don't even think it's the boss walking into the big company and saying, "I'm firing half the people today, and I'm going to be really profitable tomorrow." Ha 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 ha. I don't even think that's it. It's just a very quick, accelerated version of what's been happening in the economy for decades. Okay, and what do I mean by that? So you and I wouldn't have contemplated what we're doing now 20 years ago because the amount of investment and time, in fact, that wasn't our business. Today, the technology allows for the two of us to launch a brand together with a couple of other resources, but essentially do what it would have taken 100 people to do 20 years ago. Okay. And so we're going to launch a product that 20 years ago wouldn't have even been a product. Larry and Ruben wouldn't have done it. Okay? So today we're going to do it. We're not from that industry necessarily. We have been a support system to that industry. We've never gone to the core of it, and we're going to now. Okay? So the people who buy our product are not going to be people who are newly introduced to either dogs or to treats. Those things are things that they're familiar with. Okay? They're going to be buying our product at the expense of someone else's purchase. So instead of someone else, they're going to buy ours, and our sales are going to come from some other. We may get people who buy treats who never bought them before because they think the packaging is cool. We could get that, but for the most part, we're going to be taking sales from Mars Pet Care, from Ibanuka, from Pedigree, all these guys, and they're going to sit back in their office and they're going to do the same thing that the soft drink guys have been doing for years, which is sort of. Fuck, sugar sales are down. Carbonated sugar sales are down. We got to downsize that department, get rid of that brand, so, and over time to become a shell of themselves, and then they just go out of business. Decades from now, maybe it accelerates, but we're still talking about a company like Nestle or Unilever will begin to come undone in like 10 years. Okay, in 10 years there'll be so many. It'll be death by a million cuts, right? There'll just be so many people doing what we're doing, and in product, and maybe not so much focused on packaging, but focused on food itself. And there's a whole area of people who don't give a fuck about packaging. If things just came in transparent things, they'd be happy enough. It's good for the ecology. So I think that there's different strokes for different folks. So I think that's how this progression is going to happen. That's when we say AI advent. It's just going to be that very, very quickly. There's certain regulatory things we haven't allowed, right? We don't allow, and I remember New Jersey specifically because Elon Musk had to sue the state of New Jersey. They don't allow car sales that don't go through a dealership network. Okay? You had to have a local dealer in the state in order to sell the car. Okay? You couldn't e-com sales cars. And it was a way of the car dealers protecting themselves. Yeah. Back in the day when selling cars was a real investment. We're going to be a GM dealer. That means we got to buy a facility. We got to build a shop to fix these things. We got to stock inventory. So I need to be protected, and I'm going to be protected geographically. You're not putting another dealership within however of me. And that was kind of the way the network worked. Just because that the internet came in didn't change too much. Look at internet gambling. 20 years it was illegal in the US and legal in Great Britain. And it was all because of Sheldon Adelson, the owner of the Venetian Hotel, and a huge Republican donor who just refused to back any Republican candidate who was in favor of internet casinos. So, it's funny, you see how the British casinos are like the leaders. They have the leading, because we ceded that space to them and they had 15 years. Brits aren't like technological gurus. They are gambling people, horse racing and shit like that, and making odds and underwriting insurance that's nebulous, so that they get that part of it. But we allowed them the head start. And so I think we've done that again in green stuff, in green energy and stuff. We've ceded the new ground to other countries while we protect our fossil fuels, right?
Correct.
So enough about that. Hey, a couple of things. Let me show you something. Can I share my desktop here?
Yeah.
Okay. Just going to make sure that. Okay, so check this out, Larry. I set up a couple of agents. I was using this service here, right? Gumloop, and it sets up kind of agents. And so I was showing you this, and now check this out. This is the Star Dogs lead page. This software generates this report for me every 2 days for us. So you can see the date over here. We did it on the 12th when I set it up. And I'm not going to be able to share. I think it's just too slow sharing the video and talking and recording. It's just a little too much on it. So I was just going to show you that let me get you bigger here. I was going to show you the agent that I developed that generates leads. So, it basically produces an Excel sheet with a bunch of information on it. And it's basically scouring the internet for people who are doing things dog related. So, for example, it might have identified that you posted a picture of your dog on Instagram or that you comment about your new dog. And so it would identify that. And so now the question becomes, how do we target those people? And so I think we use some videos and certain things that we can automate. I spoke to John. My question was, if I create with Larry a group of bots that takes where, say identifies we've identified who Larry is. Now the question is, how are we going to make him aware of us? Okay. And it may not be like, hey, Larry, take this, or so we could have a series of things. Maybe it's a direct contact. It could be an email. Hey, Larry, I noticed your recent post about your dog. Da, 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 da. Let me introduce myself. I want to offer you this. Or it could simply be, we only know that Larry is in this. We don't know Larry exactly, but we know he's very active in this area. We're just simply going to take an ad out or try and get involved in that area somehow. Okay.
A post, an ad
that they're going to see. And this is where the technology now will allow for some interesting things, because we're not calling Meta necessarily and saying, can you introduce us to Larry? Here's some money, and we're going to make sure that Larry gets to know us. And then that's not really what we're doing. We're just trying to we're getting in your orbit. I think about my own habits. If you were to want to market to me, how would you do it? How would you get a hold of Ruben? And you could send me an email. I would see it because I see all my emails. So that's still effective if you have it. Now, whether I look at the email or just get annoyed by it, that's something you're going to have to navigate. But that does get I'm just talking about awareness, and I'm aware that you're trying to get a hold of me, right? And other than that, I only would think of it in the context when something surprises me. And like, I'll get an ad for, oh, that's odd. I was just talking to Larry about that. So it's not even the ad. It's just that realization that I'm being spied on, or that the technology is moving along. So I think the way that you do it is, I think YouTube works to a certain degree, although I'm not sure those ads at the beginning work, because people just, fast forward, and they get angry at the concept.
Yeah.
You don't want to be part of that angry concept. You don't want to be the mailer that used to arrive, the envelope with 40 coupons in it. Remember that? You get it in the mail. The whole thing went in the garbage.
I still get packages of those.
Yeah, that coupon thing was big. Listen, I worked with a guy at Coke who just, he didn't want to hear about anything else but coupons. He loved his coupons. He just turned around and said, see these? I know exactly what I sold. I know it worked. I got my coupons back. No one else can tell me that. I'm like, power to them, So we have the list of things that are being curated, people that we want to contact. We could automate the creation of the ads. I'm developing a form, an e-form, for people who sign up for the dog plan, the 100 people we want. Okay. So that's going to generate some content. And
also, so that's on the press release corporate side. On the consumer side, I don't think we should do anything traditional at all. I think our ads are maybe not even ads. They're a video experience.
If we're going to sell a TikTok, for example, so let's follow, because we've decided, okay, this TikTok sales thing is cool. Let's have a look at it. So we take all these videos and we just automate the creation of TikTok videos using the reveals, and we just keep pushing those out. And we push them out and we push them out, and let the viral nature of it take over. 100 dog owners creating these videos and us pushing them out with an automated system
is going to create a ripple effect.
Yes.
And the fact that we're using the videos that have been supplied, because think about it, 30 years ago, we would have needed to call someone to produce the ads. They would have looked for something like, gee, who's going to be the face of dog treats? Who's that woman, that guy, that family who's going to be, have you seen the new, I one of the kids on my street was in like Sears catalogs. He thought he was a cat's ass. So this was the environment we came from. Little mini celebrities around advertisements.
It would have been a big production, a big photo shoot, just planning that was massive.
Now we're going to get that content given to us, and the system for taking that content and dressing it up so it looks cool is done. We can just work with the AI on that and then the distribution of it. I think there's an investment side of it, but it's not people seeing reveals. It's something a little different. It's about one group doing another project, another category, doing other things, right? So I think there's like a 2-tier kind of thing in there. So
a lot of that stuff is very boring. I think press releases are outdated, very boring. But the way we could use it, if it's okay, when we reach 1,000 customers, when we reach 1,500 customers, a growth story, people like growth stories, right? But then even within the press release, let's embed a link. Let's embed a QR code. Let's embed something so they can go see the making of it. Just bring something more than the stupid, I haven't read press releases in ages. They're dusty. So let's do something. We'll use it as one touch point that opens somebody up to a story.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're allowed to do.
Yeah, I think we can. So I was thinking we're only allowed to talk about things that we've done or are being done, nothing about the future. So to me, a video of someone doing a reveal, that's an easy one. That's been done, is there. We're just pushing it out. I don't see any issue in automating that. Announcing that milestones, we've achieved this many, as long as we stay away from financial information, I don't think there's any issues there whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I also think every time you and I publish a video, it can be a press release. AWON group executives release another, because we're almost patterning what we're doing. We're telegraphing it in a funny way, right? So to that degree, I think that can be part of it, because that will, there are guys in the investment community are usually not so tech savvy, right? That's not their thing. So they will look at press releases that catch their eye. They look at press releases. That's what they do. But they're looking for specific things, just like you and I would look in our area. They're looking for things that they're interested in. AI investment, new AI, anything with new AI, breakthrough, they're just, I got it. It's clickbait. I got to see what that is because I'm an investor. And of course I want to hear about what's going on, but I want to hear about what's going to happen. That's where I make money. So if I'm hearing first about the company that's developing AI products, and I'm not talking about where I'm going to put my grandmother's pension. I'm talking about where I'm going to put the next $50, right? And I have a $2 million portfolio. So this is what, okay, yeah. Hey, I read about these guys doing this. That's worth $100 of my money. If they do half of what they're saying, it'll go whatever. So that's the, I think, awareness environment we want to be in, especially with young people. Young people don't have a stockbroker. They just buy it on their phone and stuff, so they're used to this. And again, going back 30 years, getting somebody to buy your stock required you going to a stockbroker and getting them to take it to their people. Right? So that was what it was. It was unlike anything else. And so these are this is the old school. We're not even in that area. We're in the area where people have a lot more access to information and they can make their decisions. Being public allows us to sell little tiny pieces of the company and get people involved, and it makes that transaction kind of frictionless. So the form we send out for everybody, I've got that set up, so I'll send that to you to vet, and it'll be like an online document they fill out, and then it aggregates into a database. I want to show you I got the portal for the AR done, okay?
Yeah, that's exciting.
I think I've got your phone registered now. Let's get on and see if we can sync your phone up, okay? Because right now what I got set up as the experience is you photograph your dog, you upload, select, it's either this month's theme, and this is something we got to talk about because we don't care if it's this month's theme necessarily. If you want to order a pouch with just another theme, I like rock and roll, it's punk rock theme. and the pouch will be punk rock. So that's maybe a secondary thing, but it's one of these things. So it takes the picture that's been, you upload the picture, it does its thing in AI, and it comes back. We manipulate it, so we fix it if there's anything wrong with it, and we accept it. Once it's accepted, then it makes a film. It goes from photo to video with that same image. So let's assume it's a pirate theme for July, and your dog is in a pirate outfit. The video might be him like just swashbuckling or something. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and then so that video then is approved by us again. So there's a screen I've developed, a pilot screen for approving the initial picture, and then approving the. Let me show you what that's gonna. Oh yeah, for the picture, and then the picture that becomes the video, and approving the video. So at both times we have somebody doing that final approval, just from a quality standpoint. Does it look like the dog? Does it? I did one yesterday, and my dog's eyes came out a different color, and it was stark. You could tell it's not your dog when the eyes aren't right. So there's some work that we're going to continue to do there. The video then comes up on your phone, and when you scan the pouch, now very important. We're going to have to put a marker on the pouch for it to scan, because the pouch is flexible, and unlike a wine bottle, we're going to have some issues. So I'm going to send you some criteria that it's given me for the creation of a marker, okay? And we're just going to have to think about what that looks like. Because we're calling it Star Dog and it's star mode, I'm inclined to just use like a star somewhere on the package that you scan the star and it. But we can make, let me send you the criteria, and we can figure that out.
But we also have to communicate that they need to hold their phone up to the package, otherwise they won't know, right?
So the package, yeah. So I went through this with AR years ago at its infancy. This is where you had to shake someone up and explain, this is AR. So people who, I think we're going to have to face the reality that we're not a on-shelf product. So no one's going to stumble upon this product without knowing a little about it, whether it's from someone else or having purchased it themselves on the internet. So that's the point of intervention, where they're going to get the information about AR. We could put something at the bottom, but I don't want to put something on the pack that explicitly talks about it. It's just a rabbit hole, and there will be people who get the pouch and never see the AR experience. 1%, okay? And that's okay. That's all right. They were probably my grandmother, and they were going to see it anyway. So the marker, it has to be clear about what the experience is on the app. So we have to go, scan, this is the experience. Because the app has an AR button on it that takes you, so it just has to come up, scan star on the pouch.
Yeah, so how do you actually relate that package to their video? The QR code, it's hard-coded. How is that star coded to that video?
Yeah, because we approve the video with the cover. When we approve the cover and the new look, and then we approve
it knows that photographic cover. It knows the pack.
I've got it all in the database.
So the pack front is the QR code, right? It's a visual.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right. We could put a QR code. It's just going to look, well, maybe that's our decision, right? QR code is a clear communication. People know by now. A lot of equity's gone into it. People know what they are.
Yeah.
So there's a certain something to be made. It could be you have like a design, and within it you can see a QR that's kind of,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, so I wanted to back up for a minute, because something you said the other day, and then we were just talking about this 5 minutes ago. When you talked the other day about an org chart, it left an impression on me all day, because if you think about it, people hate sweatshops. It's a bad thing, but we still buy, Nike sneakers, and we still buy things that are made in sweatshops. And the problem is, we like things that are affordable and cheap, especially in this economy, but at the same time, we don't want somebody to be paying the price for that on the other end of manufacturing.
That's right.
When you mentioned the org chart concept the other day, I was thinking, this is a big story. Having an entire company org chart, not just the agents and bots. We can put somebody in charge of HR that's a bot. Having that, and then explaining that this basically is your new modern day company, and they work nonstop. Nobody's going to feel bad for a bot. They feel bad for an Indonesian child carving a wooden boat that they're getting paid $1 a month. This is different. Nobody's going to feel bad. We're actually using the technology in the right way. That's a story, Ruben. That's a really big story, that org chart idea. Like a
That's how I
big,
would. That's how I had conceived it as kind of a funny thing. Okay, Larry, here's our new like we're building this empire. Here's our whatever department. I was even thinking as far as I follow this guy on YouTube who has like three. He warns about the dangers of AI. Okay, so he's got three bots basically on different phones, and they have one's a girl, right, busty girl who's very sarcastic and kind
okay.
of like I told you so, and then another guy who's just like a go go go, and so he's gone through a series of videos, and he's now the viewers have given him enough money to buy a robot, and so he went out and he bought a humanoid robot for one of the characters. And so he was selecting his own body. Oh my God. And they installed it. And he's like, oh, I can move. Oh my God. This is great. Right. So
Huh.
it's, dude. So there's this crazy one where he gets, I'll send you the link, but he gets in the car. The car is being driven by the robot and he's doing a test. Okay. He's got final brake override on the car. Okay. And they're driving and they're on an airport runway. Okay. So it's got miles and miles to go. Okay. So he starts asking questions of the robot. I'm going to telling the robot he's going to turn you off. Like he's starting to ask questions. Okay. You see two people in front of you. There's an 80-year-old man and a 1-year-old kid. Who do you run over? You have to run over one. Robot's like, all lives are equal. He's like, wouldn't you kill the old man? He's got less time to live. Time to live is meaningless, you know? So at the end, the bot is making a decision that it's better to crash into this thing and kill this dude
Yeah.
than to stop. And he's talking, this thing's reasoning that no, the best idea is just to go right into that wall. And he has to pull the brake on this thing. So I think that I wanted that interaction between, and I even thought about maybe assigning them personalities, like that's our head of HR, you know, but you know, there are rabbit holes we can go down, but I think the concept is really interesting of this new hybrid business that is part people, part this, you know. Let me give you an anecdote. When I started at Coke and I became a manager, that one of the plants that I ran, and I noticed this at both plants, there was a security guard, and to get in and out, you had to sign in and out without exception. So, and they had to check the vehicles, right? So there was a security check. And what it did is it created a timestamp of when you left, basically. Okay. And I noticed something really interesting. Everybody that reported to me, and for the most part, other people beneath my level, left between 5 and 10 minutes after I left. Okay? Didn't matter when I left, it was always 5 or 10 minutes after. And sometimes I would stay later, right? Because I love to work, and they would stay. And it was just the oddest psychology, right? Like you're impressing me with what? My work? You're gonna none of it made any sense to me. I'm not gonna think less of you, but maybe they did. Maybe the last guy. I don't know. The point is, AI is ready when I am. It doesn't criticize me, need to count for me, do things for me. And sometimes I have to tell it, I just want to keep going. Oh, why don't you take a break? You've been at this all day. Why don't you fuck yourself? Okay. Like, so yeah, it's a new thing. You know, we don't have to figure out what the communication to the employees and the people are going to be. There's certain things that are saved. The question is, how are we going to make use of that time in an effective way to launch new products and to do other things? And I think this is what we're showing in Indeed.
Yeah, you know, that whole layer of ego, somebody likes an idea, they're not going to evaluate every scenario that's different because they go down their own path. This is holistic. AI is agnostic to that. It's going to give you all the scenarios, right? So there's that positive side. The gloom and doom of AI and jobs, I understand there's certain jobs that are tedious and inefficient anyway, and all of those are going to go away. But then the people that actually are going to learn AI and use it within that area, I do believe that those people are going to be more valuable than ever. They're just not going to be doing the tedious, inefficient tasks anymore. So, because there's going to be more data than ever, people have to understand what to do with that data and apply it. So I think this org chart and I think this is a press release and a company story in and of itself that is as impressive to catch an eyeball as the package idea of a treat with your dog photo. I do think it's that good. It is.
So I was thinking about.
We might end up Star Pets, not AI CPG for a second. Star Pets, that brand, that company within. We might end up doing like what NVIDIA does. They do, I think, once a quarter. They want you to take 2 days off and have a 4-day weekend, and it's mandatory. You can't go to the office, right? we'll end up announcing that we're going to do once a quarter where we give our AI bots a day off. Like, just because that's newsworthy. It's so interesting. It's like, holy, right? That's the way you and I think. So I'm a little obsessed with the org chart idea. I think one session we have very, very soon, we should build that story.
Yeah.
Build that org chart. Think through that, because I think at launch, that is really cool, Ruben. Like, that is really cool. Yeah.
So some cleanup stuff. What do you need to open a bank account? Do you want to email your manager?
I was supposed to go over there today because I tried to call and I didn't get the local person. I got the 800 number.
Okay.
I was just going to stop in there and say, hey, what can I meet with you, or what do I need so that I can meet with you?
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to do that now that I'm going to be tied up with this thing today, but I might be able to get there. If not, I'm going to go there tomorrow.
Okay.
So okay. I'll know pretty quickly.
Okay. There's a specific code that they give us that goes into the software, and it's really just the last thing so we can do a live test with the entire system. And then what we can do after that is we'll run a couple of live tests, so the whole system through. I spoke to the guys in Colombia yesterday, so I'm going to start to have a regular meeting with them every week about what's happening. There's a pouch. The setup of the pouch that I sent you, those things go 7 across, but it's side to side without any gaps. He's going to send me the template. I'm going to program it and try and get it. I'm going to get an agent working on setting up this file. You know, this is another good thing about AI. You know, we all get hired for competency reasons, and we get fired for interpersonal reasons. And when you think about how powerful that is to think about, it basically means we know you can do the job, you just didn't fit into what we're doing. And when you consider, you know, back in the day, in the 1970s, getting fired was the end of your life. Now, you know, you've been here for how long? Man, that guy's got nothing going on. He's sitting around here waiting for, you know, it's actually flipped the other way. So we want to know how many different things and what you've done. And so, yeah, it is. I'm glad that these constraints, I'll call them, like corporate constraints, don't, you know, I do think there's obviously decorum and respect for other people, but I don't think that you need to put a tie on or go to work to conduct yourself that way. I think you should conduct yourself that way all the time. So, so the printing stuff, I'm going to start getting pretty serious into that. Is it okay if we use your dog in the picture you gave us as the initial template? Okay. So I'm going to start fussing with that.
We can use the golden retriever also, because that's my bestie Mindy's dog. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then I'll get the form over to you so you can vet it before we send it to all the dog owners.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I was thinking that we could have, you know, we're going to have a go live date. And I think there's a couple of things that could hang us up. One is Apple publishing the app. Yeah. I've seen where you got to go back and forth with a couple of iterations, and it can take an extra week from what you thought. Right? So that's one of the things. But if we get the bank account open and everything done, and we can start testing and fine tuning through next week, then by the end of next week or early the next week, we should be able to submit to Apple and then let them do what they do and get back to us. I don't think we're going to have an issue with it, but that's one of the things. The food, I'm going to get the food sent to you. And so where we've arrived at, we're going to have to, as I said, we're going to have to start looking probably for a local supplier. But for the time being, I think we bring in the treats from this guy in Mexico. We send them to a local lab in your place, a sample of it to get some testing, and get our own testing certificate from stateside on it. Okay, that way we're not leaning on anybody, and our insurance company will be okay with it.
Oh, because that's what the hurdle was that you would have if it's from another country.
Yeah, essentially, he's in Mexico, and they don't have the same types of liability insurances there, right?
Yeah.
So normally, like when we co-pack, our insurance company names the co-pack client as an additional insured, and their insurance company leans on the factory having its own insurance for some of this stuff, right? So there's kind of like a cross thing there. So if one of those legs isn't available, then it reverts back to what? So for us, the easiest thing is import the stuff. We know it's FDA approved because he's gone through all of that, and then test it for microbes. It takes about 3 days, my understanding is. So we'll have to find a lab that's local to you and just send it there. And once you know it's there, then we're good. So, and I think that's got it now. We're going to have to, the treats are they're our biggest input cost, and obviously it's the product that we're selling, so it's important that we try and keep it, I think, as free of additives and preservatives as possible at the beginning. Just less is more. I don't want to have to justify why we put something in something or why we're using this. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's chicken. So in that regard, as long as we're not, it's chicken, it's dried chicken. We've all had it. You make it on the barbecue.
Yeah. So there's a few things that we have to start lining up sessions. And
Yes.
maybe we do one of these later today, but I had questions about how in our configuration, this type of company, do you have the batch information which is required if something's wrong, food contamination, you have to have sort of batch number and best by and all that stuff. So how do we do that when we're printing packages on the fly? So how do we coordinate that batch of chicken that was made with this package and make those two things work? So that was the question. And then the needs, what actually has to go on a package? Because we talked about maybe using the bottom of the pouch for all that info. We
Yep.
don't need a UPC code,
Nope.
but we need all what is required for all the other information, and then we need all that other information.
Yeah, I think I sent it to you. He had sent it to me. But let me grab it
But
again.
there was a lot of stuff. I couldn't make heads or tails out of some of the stuff.
All right, let me deal with it. I'll get it.
And then lastly, one of the things we need to start talking about soon is what are the themes? We should lay out what the themes are. We've talked about them tangentially about they revolve around holidays and special moments, but we need to sort of map out what they are.
Yeah, so one of the things that the agent is doing is it's giving me themes that are trending. So we could, in the absence of something obvious, like Christmas and or the holidays, let's call it, we could select whatever's trending. We could do something like that. Because really there's a few common ones, but there aren't that many without getting religious about it. There's the 4th of July, there's New Year's, and the holiday season. And
Valentine's birthday, for sure.
Valentine's.
And we'll know their birthday month of the dog. They're going to get their birthday, in the month that they basically are born.
It's the trending thing is interesting because it kind of keeps it fresh. So maybe we incorporate that into what we're doing anyway. It may be summertime at the beach, but it's still, there's still the underlying trends going on.
Yeah.
That, the reason your dog's wearing capris and he's not wearing, bikini.
But so here's the thing, though. We were thinking rigidly about themes, but in reality, what if I ask you questions? Hey, Ruben, what do you like to do with your dog? Oh, we love going hiking. I take my dog hiking every day. That hiking could be a theme. The dog is now hiking with a hiking stick. Like, why are since it's basically an open universe for us? Why aren't we tailoring it to the dog's life?
So we
not
can.
just holidays?
Yeah. I think that's where we go next with it, because
Yeah.
if you think about it, we have to go through each pouch anyway. That's why we're printing in Colombia, okay, where it's not so expensive. So we're going to have to go through to make sure that says Larry and this is Larry, and I'm going to collate it. So whether I'm troubleshooting for a name or a theme, it doesn't matter, right? It's still a one-off. So yeah, we can begin to incorporate all of it the same way that it's your dog, not somebody else's dog. Yeah, absolutely.
Packaging and shipping was the other thing. Once I have a pouch, I fill it with the right amount of treats. We weigh it, we know the size, we can tell what boxes we need to order for shipping and what we want to do with inside that box. Is it a colored box? What are we packing it with?
Yep.
Most of the dog treats that I receive that come here, they don't even wrap them in bubble or anything. They're just in the box and they put a little bit of crafting.
There's a big push to minimize the amount of packaging that's being used. So I think that for our initial test, we go to Uline, find the right size. We kind of fine tune that. I'm torn between printed and not printed boxes. I think they attract attention and they're ecologically too, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think I'm of two minds. Like part of me thinks, no, I want this thing to look like a Christmas gift and be like everything. But then I think, what do I do with the secondary packaging that I get?
Yeah.
The garbage. I'm after what's inside. My main criteria is that it's not destroyed. So I think that's got to do with the size of the box. The size of the box will also minimize shipping. So I think there's a dovetail in purpose there. And it's one of these things that we're going to learn a little bit about, So I think we may want to develop a box that's of the right size, that it's holding the pouch tight and we don't need additional filler for it to stop moving, so we want to be able to, so I think there's a little work to there, and probably order a customized box.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what else goes in the box? If we're going to do a printed photo or some other thing or promotional information inside the box, then how does that work within the box? Because now you've got your package, but then you got stuff floating around. So we just have to talk and think about this as
So I mean, we're thinking about doing a bandana and then a little card, the thank you card, right? So we're going to have to think about that as well. And then I think we got to get ready for step 2 and pretty quickly, because I think the volume of orders could overwhelm you. Okay.
Yeah.
Because 100 people's a lot. When we start communicating that out, it's pretty easy to see us getting 1,000 orders first month in. Now, we could open up a part of our portal and begin to preview it, so we're getting kind of advanced orders, right? And there's a queue for it. So there's a few things that we got to do. I'm going to set up Instagram and all the social media pages for the brand.
Are you doing it for Star Dogs or Star Pets?
I think
Star
I need to.
Dogs right now.
I think I need to do all 3, right? At the end of the day, all 3. But Star Dogs is the one that I'll open right now, or I'll open all 3. And right now, maybe there's a way of linking one to the other, but so that way we can, people can have places to start uploading stuff, and we can get activity going before. We can post our letter on there too if anybody else wants to join, people we don't know.
All right, let me try to call you later on this
Okay.
afternoon when I get
All right,
back.
Larry, enjoy. Have a great day.
Stop it.